Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and thank you for tuning in to Penguin Live TV. My name is Stephen. I am going to be your host for the night. I'm going to be controlling the camera, trying to find all the interesting penguins that are washing up tonight. And we also have T joining us this evening. Come on and say hi, T.
Welcome, everybody. Hope you have a fabulous night. I'm looking forward to seeing lots and lots of penguins and hopefully answering lots of your stories as well.
Love to hear it. So, I do want to say a big thank you for tuning in tonight. A lot of you have been return viewers night after night. Some of you may be here for the first time, and we are broadcasting here from Phillip Island. Now, we'd like to take this moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are viewing the penguins from, and this would be the Bunurong of the Kulin Nation. And I want to pay my respects to their elders, both past, present, and emerging. Now, for the Bunurong, this land is known as Millau, or Phillip Island. And they've been coming here, the Bunurong have been coming to this island for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. And they've done a lot to teach us about the importance of conservation work and the importance of respecting the environment. And that's what we do here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. We are a conservation organization. We're also not for profit, so we're not looking to make a profit to make ourselves rich. All of the profits we do make from tourism or sales, all of that goes back into research, education, and a whole lot of conservation and revegetation work. It's quite a large undertaking what we're doing here because we look after the penguins here on Phillip Island, and the penguins might be just out there in the ocean getting ready to come in. I haven't seen any penguins on the water's edge yet. I'm just having a quick look around. So keep your eyes peeled while I'm talking. See if you can spot any of our penguins that might be swimming in. And if you do see a raft of penguins, that's a group of penguins out on the ocean, just let us know in the comments.
And we've already had a couple of viewers spot a couple of rafts, Stephen.
Really? You guys have better eyes than I do. That's fantastic. So the rafts are out there, which is really good news. It means that the penguins are not too far away. But be patient. The penguins are only going to come out of the ocean when they're ready. But as I was saying earlier, I was telling you a little bit about who we are here at the Penguin Parade. We are part of the Phillip Island Nature Parks conservation organization looking after the Penguin Parade, also the Koala Conservation Reserve, where we have a few of the koalas affected from the bushfire areas in eastern Victoria. And we also take care of Cape Woolamai, which is home to hundreds of thousands of shearwaters. I believe there's over 1 million shearwaters, short-tailed shearwaters that call Phillip Island their home. And those shearwaters are going to be coming back in the very near future. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, we might start seeing them flying in the same time as the penguins. It'll be really exciting to have the shearwaters back, also known as the mutton bird in Australia. So I'm just going to do a quick scan up and down this beach just to see if any penguins start to show up. Tonight, we have a couple of people on the beach. We have Sue and Ebony, who are our penguin counters this evening. Their job is to keep an eye on this beach and let us know when they see the first penguin popping out of the water and let us know when the penguins start crossing. And they're going to be counting every single penguin that's crossing this beach tonight. So if you want to have a guess as to how many penguins are coming tonight, put your guess in the comments. You can even do that at the end when we're starting to wind down the stream, and we will let you know tomorrow how many penguins have crossed the beach. Now, I can tell you for those of you who were watching last night, it was a really good number of penguins that came in last night, over 2,000 penguins. We had, do you know the number, T?
Yes, I do. It was 2,354.
2,354 penguins last night, which is an incredible number for this time of year. The breeding season is well underway here. It's a very early breeding season for us on Phillip Island for the penguins. And they're coming home in large numbers to look after their babies at home or their eggs at home. We have started to notice quite a few eggs have hatched. Lots of penguins are still sitting on eggs inside their burrows, so it's a very exciting time of year. We're hoping to be able to show you some baby penguins, maybe not tonight, but in the nearer future. It shouldn't be too far away. If we're very lucky, we'll be able to put them on the stream for you. So keep tuning in night after night. You might be lucky enough to spot some baby penguins.
I've got a question for you, Stephen, from Sophie, who's 12. How many penguins do we get injured every year?
Well, that's a tricky question. How many penguins do we get injured every year? I don't actually know if I know the answer to that. Do you know the number off the top of your head?
Around about 120 get admitted to our wildlife clinic every year.
120 penguins roughly get admitted into our wildlife clinic every year. Now we do have a little wildlife clinic here on near the penguin parade that is really good at taking care of penguins, but also good at taking care of other animals as well. Now this wildlife clinic was given to us by our charity organization, the Penguin Foundation. They helped to fund this, and we have a link just below if you wanted to donate to the Penguin Foundation. Now, your donations would go into maintaining this wildlife clinic where we take care of our penguins year after year, and we take care of other injured and hurt wildlife as well. Just a couple of nights ago, I was lucky enough to be working here, and somebody brought in an abandoned baby swan. A little cygnet was given to us to take into the clinic, and it was the cutest little fluffy animal I've ever seen in my whole life. I can honestly tell you, I was very tempted to take it home with me.
So was I.
Yeah, but unfortunately, T and I, we both have pets at home. I have a dog and a cat, and T has a couple of cats. Not an ideal situation to be bringing in a baby swan. But that's all right. We've given the baby swan to our wildlife clinic where they'll be taking care of it, raising it, and hopefully releasing it back into the wild when it's grown up and ready to be uh, free in the outside world. But for now, it needs a little bit of tender care from us. And we do a lot of caring for not just baby swans, but of course penguins as well, about 120 T mentioned every single year, which is absolutely fantastic. All right, I'm just scanning up and down. Not sure if anybody in the comments has noticed a raft on the water's edge yet. I haven't myself, but I am looking very closely as I scan up and down this beach, hoping to spot a nice raft of penguins. Now, a raft of penguins, if you're not sure what to look for, they look like a bit of a black patch on the water, moving at a different speed than the waves. Now, penguins form up into a raft or a group of penguins on the water in order to cross this beach with the safety of numbers. Now, right at this moment, a lot of the penguins are out there. Oh, I think that's a raft. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Oh yeah, a little disturbance in the water here, right in the center of the screen. You might be able to spot it as well. We might follow these guys coming in. So penguins right now in that little raft there. It's a bit tricky to spot if you don't know what to look for, especially when I'm struggling to get the camera to focus for you. It's just behind that wave. Penguins on the ocean right now are making a sound to stick together because they sit very low in the water. You can barely see their heads popping out of that water. Just going around that wave right now. Oh, that's just great to see. And they'll make a sound which is called a huck. And a huck is a very short, sharp sound. It sounds like huck, 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 huck. And the penguins are hucking their little hearts out, keeping together, basically translate into English as, stay with me, guys, stick together, here I am. And the penguins are all making that hucking noise, staying in that nice group. I saw a couple of heads above the water there. And they're getting ready to come to the water's edge. How fantastic is this? Now, when we open up in the future, we will be able to let you down here at the Penguin Parade to watch this raft swimming in, and you will be able to see this with your own eyes, because hopefully your eyes have better focus than our cameras do. Lovely. So Sue, our penguin counter, has just noticed that these penguins have arrived on the water's edge. So she's just called a water's edge. And there they are. Oh, how fantastic is this? Let's zoom in on these guys as they cross the beach. I say zoom in on these guys. It's both male and female. Roughly 50-50 males and females come home every night. It's a nice little group. So have a guess as to how many penguins you see in this little group crossing the beach. When they're in the ocean, a group of penguins is called a raft of penguins. When they're on land, they don't have an official grouping name, but unofficially, we love to call them a waddle of penguins. Let's see if we can get that camera a little better focus. There we go. So 6:38 is our start time tonight. And Sue is desperately counting all of these penguins. She'll let us know how many have crossed in that first group. But feel free to put your guesses in the comments. And if you get it right or very, very close, you might be our next penguin counter. Hopefully when we do open up, we'll be looking to get lots of people to come back and work for us. And one of the jobs is being a penguin counter in the evening, which is a fantastic position to have. Now I wonder, do we have a number of how many penguins are in this group, T?
Just a small group came in first, so we had 31 in that little group.
31 penguins in this little group right here. Well, you can double check Sue's counting if you like. We try to be as accurate as possible, but it can be very tricky with these penguins waddling around and shifting positions, some going faster than others and tripping and falling on their way across the beach. Oh, I just love zooming in on these guys as they get out of the ocean. They shake their flippers and feathers, they're shaking their heads, making sure they get all the salt out of their eyes, making sure they dry themselves off. And we've got our little puddle that's still here. This puddle showed up again last night, so it's a very special puddle. And they got a little diving board right here, which is always fun to watch. Cannonball right in, good splashdown. They sometimes do a belly flop. Some of them do a little cannonball. Very rarely do they see an elegant dive. So feel free to give these guys a score out of 10. You can judge them on their artistic ability in jumping into this puddle. And they'll be swimming across this puddle because penguins, they love to swim. They're much better swimmers than they are walkers or waddlers. So they're going to love jumping into this puddle, having a bit of a shortcut home. Let's just follow this, guys. I can keep up with them. They're much faster in the water. These guys will be swimming around 4 kilometers an hour through this water. But when they're sprinting, they can get speeds of about 6 or 7 kilometers an hour. Lovely. Let's see. Ooh, we just got this group walking past the camera on the top right. I'll try and follow them for you. I won't be able to follow them. I'll try to get them in the shot for you. You can just see them waddling by nice and close up. This is fantastic. So these penguins are going on a journey home. A lot of them will be going back to eggs. Some of them might have chicks in their burrows. And those who don't have eggs or chicks are going to be thinking about finding a partner and starting a family very soon. There's one little penguin just above those two there that is looking around. He might have a little burrow nearby. Well, let's go back to our main camera, see if we can spot any more penguins. Oh, it's a bit barren out here, but I saw a group on the water's edge.
Question from Ruby, who's 5. How do they find their way home, Stephen?
Ooh, Ruby, who is 5, is just asking, how do our penguins find their way home? And that is a great question because we've often wondered, how do penguins properly find their way homes? We have some researchers here who study questions like this to try and find the right answer. And we found out that penguins find their way home by using their eyes, just like we do when we travel. Now, if you're taking the bus to school or if you're driving around to the supermarket, you probably take the same roads every time. We are creatures of habits, and we like to take the quickest or the most consistent road to the supermarket or wherever we're going. We don't like to change our pathways too much, and penguins are very much the same. They always go back to the same burrow. They're only traveling on land. What they're really doing is from the ocean to their burrow, and they're not going to be moving house too much, not moving burrows too much in their lifetime. So they've memorized that pathway really well, and they use their eyes to look for the landmarks that they recognize the same way we do. We know stop signs, we know road signs, or maybe a big supermarket is a good landmark. And we rely on our eyes and our memory to find our way home, just like the penguins. Oh, this is a nice big, whoa! Look at the size of that group. All right, potential penguin counters, do your best. Let us know how many penguins are in this group.
I'm so glad I'm not counting that lot,
I'm
Stephen.
so glad I'm not Sue tonight, or they've got a really tough job ahead of them. I can tell you quite easily that's more than 100 penguins. So if you're thinking it might be 100, under 100 penguins, Aim a bit higher because there's a lot of penguins in this group. Can't even fit them all onto one screen and have to zoom out to try and get them all in. Wow, look at that. We might get Sue to give us a radio and let us know how many penguins in that group. Good luck, Sue. Send her your best wishes. She does not have an easy job tonight. And look at them just stumbling all over the rocks. Wow, that's fantastic. Jumping into the pool, some of them are just so eager to get ready for their journey home. I'll keep the camera focused on these penguins that are just a little resting right here on the edge of the pool. They just got out of the water. They're shaking their feathers, trying to dry themselves off, not realizing that they have another bit of water to swim through again. I love this little penguin just standing on the edge of the diving board here, getting ready to go. And in you go, buddy. Well done. Now, we would love to have you guys here. You'd be lucky enough to be on this stand if you buy the Penguins Plus tickets, and the penguins would literally be swimming underneath your feet. Because just at the bottom of the screen here, you can see our Penguins Plus stand and a nice group of penguins swimming across the water there. Look at that. All right, let's swap over to this other camera because we got a nice waddle of penguins making their way past the camera, and look at them waddling their little ways home. Now, some of these penguins are lucky to have a close to the beach property, a beachfront property, but some of our penguins might have to walk almost 2 kilometers to get home. And we're just going to get Sue to let us know how many penguins were in that last group. Wow, look at how many of these guys are just making their way past. Now that little glass window on the left, that is to our underground viewing area. It's one of the tickets you can buy when we open up again. And the penguins will be literally that close to the glass. You could have your face just on the other side of that glass, almost close enough to kiss one of the penguins that's walking by. All right, let's pop back over to the beach. I did not hear that. How many was that, T?
That was 302 in that massive group.
302 penguins in that last group. That is a very big group of penguins. I reckon there was a couple of groups that joined up to form one large raft out on the ocean because that's quite a large group, which means we're going to have good numbers again tonight. Now, the numbers of penguins we have crossing this beach does fluctuate. It does vary from night to night. It's not always the same number of penguins every night. And the reason for this is our penguins can sleep on the ocean. They don't need to come home every night. Now, penguins float on the water. They don't need to swim to stay above the water's surface. So what our penguins will do is they'll stick their flippers out to the sides as they're resting on top of the water. They'll tilt their heads back and they'll fall asleep for 4 minutes. No longer than 4 minutes. They have very short sleeps before they wake up and they dive underwater and keep looking around for food that they're going to eat. But they'll have many, many, many sleeps every day and night. Doesn't matter to them if it's day or night too much. They will sleep both times. Lovely. I love seeing these little guys on these rocks as well. It's such a cute feature. They just love to rest on these rocks, socializing, preening their own feathers. You see lots of interesting behaviors. There's a penguin at the bottom who's reaching around just above his tail with his beak. He's reaching around to its oil gland, and he's going to spread that oil on his beak all over his feathers to keep himself waterproof. Now, penguins are meticulous about their feathers. They want to make sure that they remain waterproof. They want to make themselves beautiful for their partners at home. And so they're not going to rush home looking all scruffy in case the missus is waiting for them. They want to make themselves beautiful before they get there. Lots of that preening behavior. Sometimes you'll see a couple of penguins preening each other. They're very good at preening their own body right up until the base of their neck, but they can't get their own neck and they can't get their own heads with their beak. So they might rely on a friendly nearby penguin who will give them a helping hand or a helping beak to make sure that they preen each other. They might not even know each other, but penguins are social birds. They like to help each other out. Oh, I love these guys just hanging around on these resting rocks. Last little socialization, stopping off at the pub before they go home for the night. All right, I'm going to zoom out and see if we can spot any more penguins. Oh my goodness. Talk about good timing. That's another big group. Whoa, I wonder if we're going to have as many penguins as we did last night. There's lots of big groups coming out tonight, so make sure you get your guesses into the comments and tune in again tomorrow night so you can hear the answers, see if you get the right numbers. Wow, this is just fantastic. Now, the breeding season is such an exciting time of year for us at the Penguin Parade because we get so many penguins coming home. They've got to feed their babies as often as they can. They don't want to let their babies go hungry for more than a day or two because a fat baby is a healthy baby for a penguin. So they're coming home as often as they can, whereas in the winter months, they don't usually have too many babies, so they're happy to spend a month on the ocean at a time before they come back to land. So you can imagine the numbers between our summer months, our spring and summer months, are quite a lot higher than usually we get in our winter months. That's a lot of penguins hanging around on this rock. Unfortunately, the last group, that first group that's still standing there, are blocking the way for all of our other penguins, but no worries, they're just going to push their way through, just shoving the penguins aside because they want to get home. Some of them are thinking, I've got a long trip ahead of me, better get started now, let's get my little journey home going. Look at these guys, they push their way through, getting ready to dive right back into the water. Oh, he's feeling a bit nervous. Oh, slipped in. Wow, just look at them motoring through the water. It's very special to see our penguins swimming so close. They're quite fast little swimmers. This isn't a fast swim for them by any stretch. It's a very cruisy swim, very low energy swim, saving their energy for their long journey home. And as I said, some of our penguins might be walking almost 2 kilometers to get home. It's a long trip. Let's see if we can follow a group of penguins up this way. We've got another pathway going a bit more directly up the hill. That last group of penguins that went below us, they're just in that top right screen above me. You can see them waddling their way past. These little penguins are going up a much steeper hill to start with, but they'll get to the top before any of the other penguins do. Now that brown box just below those penguins where they disappear, that's one of our penguin burrows. It's an artificial burrow, one that we have made for our penguins. And there are penguins who do live there. They might not be coming home tonight. As I said, penguins can sleep on the ocean, so they don't come home every night to go to sleep. But if we're lucky, we might be able to see some penguins in a burrow in the near future. It's getting really hard to see those penguins in the darkness. Our lights don't stretch too far up into the hills. But don't worry about the lights that we use around here for our eyes. The lights that we use are almost invisible to our penguins' eyes. They're the wrong color spectrum. Our penguins don't see the colors yellow, orange, or red very well, whereas our eyes can see those colors. And the lights we use here are very yellow, orange in color. So they're very dull to a penguin's eyes. If you wanted an example of what it would look like for us, if we had our mast lights made out of infrared lights, it would be the same for us. We do not see the color infrared. Other animals can see that color, but we cannot. And we would be in the darkness if we had infrared lights as our mast lights. So when we're using these yellow lights, the penguins think they're in the darkness. They don't really notice them. It's a very special feature that we have here, a way that we can help protect our penguins here at the Penguin Parade without impacting them, without causing them undue stress due to some of our presence here. We're very passionate about keeping these penguins as wild as they possibly can be. You got this lovely Penguins Plus stand. You can see just at the bottom here where you'd be able to sit down. And this stand was built about 5 years ago, back when I first started at the Penguin Parade. And it was a lot of work to make sure the penguins were safe during its construction. And I remember we had these penguin-proof fence up around the construction site. We had to make sure that a couple of penguins were not in the construction site when we started building. And we had a wildlife officer who would visit before the construction guys came in every morning, making sure no penguins had snuck past our penguin-proof fence, uh, putting them into a different burrow if they had snuck in. She'd be on call all day long in case the construction workers had any problems with penguins in the construction site or nearby. And on one instance, they actually called our wildlife officer because they noticed a penguin outside in the daytime. And our penguins, they should not be outside in the open in the daytime because they are predators that like to prey on penguins in the daytime. Big birds of prey that eat small animals will take penguins home and have a meal of them if they catch them outside in the daytime. But our penguins are clever. They stay hidden in their burrows during the day or out on the ocean, and they shouldn't set foot outside, otherwise they're in danger. But these construction workers, big tough men coming in to do some hard work, were worried about this penguin. So they called our wildlife officer and they came down, she came down, gathered up the penguin who was outside in the daytime. We took it to our wildlife clinic, made sure he was safe, and there was no harm caused. So we're very passionate. Even if that penguin wasn't in our construction site, we still like to take care of our animals here, make sure nothing that we are doing is causing them any undue stress or causing them some confusion. Oh, I just love watching these penguins getting ready to dive off. Oh, come on, camera, let's get some better focus there. There we go, little cannonballs into that puddle. How fantastic is this? Look at how many penguins are still on these rocks here. Do we have any more questions?
One more question from Isaac. He wants to know, how long do penguins live?
Ooh, Isaac, he wants to know, how long do penguins live for? And that is a great question. I'm just going to flip over to this other camera before I answer. There we go. Now, penguins do live a variety of ages. I always like to answer that question by saying that our oldest penguin was around 26 years old. Almost 26, it was just a couple of months shy of that. But the average age of a penguin is around 7 years of age. So sometimes they're very lucky and they get to live a long time. 26 years of age, he would have been a great, 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 great grandfather, I have no doubt. Whereas our 7 to 8-year-old penguins, they would have been able to have quite a few breeding seasons before being unfortunate enough to pass away. So on average, 7 to 8 years. But if they survive their first few years of life, where they're learning how to fish, where they're learning how to survive, then we could expect them to easily make it over that 7-year mark. It's really those first few years of life are very difficult for a penguin. Mom and dad are not teaching these baby penguins how to fish. As soon as the babies reach about 2 months of age, mom and dad stop coming home to feed them. 2 months of age after they hatch from their eggs. And mom and dad stop coming home to feed them. And the babies have to make their own way out into the ocean, and they have to learn how to fish by themselves. It's not an easy start to life for a little penguin, so you might expect that a few of them might not make it in the early stages. I just love watching these guys on the rocks. I see a little penguin in that top right corner as well, pointing the wrong way. I wonder if that's a shell gritter. Now, a shell gritter is a female with an egg. I like to call them pregnant, even though it's not the right term to use. And this female is walking back to the beach to eat the shell grit in the sand. Now, shell grit is really high in calcium, and because she's got an egg developing inside of her, she might be a bit low on calcium. And it makes the shell nice and hard when she lays it. She'll get that shell grit in the sand, and it'll help her healthy eggs lay properly. And the females that are with eggs that go to eat the shell grit, they should be laying their eggs in the very, very near future. So if you see any shell gritters tonight, that egg should be laid maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, probably by the next day. And these penguins, oh, I'm not sure if it is a shell gritter. She's turned back around and coming back this way on the camera. You never know what these penguins are up to. But it is the right time of year for us to be seeing some shell gritters in the colony. Now we do have just a few minutes left before we're going to wind this stream up for the night. So feel free to get your questions in. If you're on Facebook, we will try and answer your questions within the next 24 hours. We won't be doing that on YouTube so much, but feel free to pop your questions in. We'll try and get to them, answer them as best as possible. And if you want me to answer your questions on the stream, just tune in again tomorrow night. I believe Jordan will be doing this tomorrow night, and she'll do her best to answer all of your incredibly difficult questions. Oh, I just love watching these guys getting ready to jump into the water. It never gets old, and it's such a rare feature for us to have this puddle. Oh, he just kind of slid right in there. Penguins are not the most elegant creatures on land. I'm sure you've been noticing that. They tend to slip and fall and stumble over their own flippers or their own feet. But that's all right. They spend 80% of their life on the ocean. They don't need to be too agile on land because they get all of their food from the ocean. I just noticed a little penguin in the bush down here. Let's see if I can zoom in on this guy. So this penguin that's just in the grass right here is just outside of its burrow. Now, I don't know if it's a male or a female. I can't get a good enough look at its beak. A male would have a longer beak than a female, a more pronounced hook on the top bill. But yeah, this is where this penguin lives, right on the edge. Beachfront property with a bit of a lake in his backyard. How good is that? He's got some prime real estate right there. Don't know if he has to worry about flooding or not, but he seems to be high enough up that he shouldn't have any worries. More penguins jumping across the rocks there. Now, before we wind up, I just want to remind you to click our link below if you're interested in helping us with our conservation work. You can go to the Penguin Foundation. You can adopt a penguin or become a penguin pal. We have quite a few different programs. Each one comes with different options. I believe if you become a penguin pal, you get a plushie sent to you. If you adopt a penguin, you get some behind the scenes tickets. There's lots of interesting ways of helping our conservation work. And by donating to our charity, you will be helping these little penguins. And not just our penguins, but also our other local wildlife as well. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's just so fantastic seeing such large groups of penguins getting ready to go on their journey home. And like the penguins, it is time for us to go on our own journey home. So we do want to thank you for tuning in tonight, and we do wish you all the best. So thank you. Hopefully you'll see you again tomorrow. Bye all.
Thank you.